Well, it took hours of negotiations, 15 rounds of voting to get it done. But Congressman Kevin McCarthy has been named House Speaker. The contentious transition of power far from over as Congress is back in session right now for another showdown. Let's give you a live look right now. Capitol Hill lawmakers now need to vote on and pass the concessions McCarthy made with Republican holdouts. Congressional reporter at the Hill, Michael Schnell, joins us live. Michael, thank you for being here. As you know, typically the vote for Speaker, the vote to pass House rules are really just formalities. Certainly not the case this go round.
That's exactly right, Nicole. And it wasn't a formality this time around in terms of the rules package because the House is so narrowly split right now. There are 222 Republicans and just 212 Democrats, which means for any vote, including today's rules vote, Republicans can only afford to lose 4 of their members and still pass legislation amid that widespread Democratic opposition. So this may sort of a sign of what's to come in the rest of the 118th Congress because of that very narrow split in the House. But if we just talk about the rules package today, that's set to come to the floor in just a matter of minutes now. It'll be McCarthy's first legislative battle as Speaker, as it is the first piece of legislation to come to the floor during his speakership. There's so far one Republican House member who has said he plans to vote against the rules package. That's Tony Gonzalez of Texas. He has said he has some issues with potential cuts to defense spending. It remains to be seen if other Republicans will come out against it and really put this rules package in jeopardy of failing. But again, that vote is supposed to happen just in a matter of minutes, and it'll be a really important vote as McCarthy kicks off his speakership.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael, let's zero in on these Republican holdouts and the changes that they'd like. How likely is it that they will end up getting everything that they want?
Right now, it looks like they're in pretty good shape to get a number of those concessions. Of course, the number one on the table and the most controversial regulation that came under discussions last week was that single-member motion to vacate the chair. The motion to vacate the chair essentially allows a member of the House to force a vote on ousting the Speaker. McCarthy had brought that down to 5 Republicans who must be behind the motion for it to come into play. But then, as a show of faith to Republicans during those closed-door negotiations, he brought that down to 1 member, which was a really significant concession that he gave up. And now that's the only change to the rules package that lawmakers will be voting on today. The other ones are sort of just behind-the-scenes agreements that were made between McCarthy allies and some of those holdouts. That includes allowing 72 hours to review a bill before it's brought to the floor, some committee assignments for Freedom Caucus members, and some other tenets. But the main thing that people are looking at today is that single motion vacate the chair, which really can come back and bite McCarthy if some of those members and some of those Republican detractors end up wanting to take action against him. They could use that motion to vacate to force a vote on his ousting. So that was a very interesting concession that he gave up. That was of high interest to reporters last week.
Absolutely. 15 votes. We're waiting to see what happens right now. But Michael, is this what we can expect really as the new normal for this Congress? Every vote, even the most basic procedural steps, is it going to end up being like those 15 votes?
It appears that way. And again, it's because we get back to the breakdown of the House chamber right now. Republicans were expecting that red wave that we had spoke about a ton in the lead up to the November midterm elections. That just didn't come to fruition. Democrats performed better than expected in those midterm elections, which left us with this 222 to 212 chamber, which means that Republicans can only afford to lose 4 votes on any of these bills. Now, we saw last week, particularly the divisions that are on display within the Republican conference, the different personalities, the different policy interests, the different rules interests among these Republicans, which could play into future votes on various pieces of legislation. We have a lot of different personalities in the 118th Congress in terms of Republicans. So I think it's pretty safe to say that we will see some of these easier votes be contested in the future just because of the narrow margin Republicans have and the fact that any one member, any one Republican can really put a piece of legislation in jeopardy.
Yeah, the easy votes may not be so easy. All right, Michael, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.